Okay, I've got 7 o'clock on my iPhone here. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. Dan, if you could make any announcements you need to make in connection with the hybrid end of the meeting, please.
Yes, we will be audio and video recording tonight. There's going to be a great deal of screen switching around on my part, so just bear with me so I can bring up with what we're talking about at the moment. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Frank. You have Les and Ella sign in online, and we're awaiting Mike Lahan to arrive.
Just so you know, Dan, I'm
Yep.
clicking on this meeting is being recorded. Okay, finally, it let me get out of it. Okay.
Okay, so we do have a quorum at the moment. The first matter of business would be an approval of the minutes from the July 19th meeting. Could I have somebody make a motion to approve those minutes, please?
I'll make a motion.
That's
I'll
Ella.
second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any discussion regarding the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the minutes from July 19th are approved. Next matter of business or communications, we have a ZEO request regarding an interpretation of zoning regulations relative to stories in a multifamily zone. So Deanna, are you going to tell us about that, or Dan, or somebody?
Kind of a combination, I think. Dan, can you call up Rich's memo?
Yep, it's up.
Okay, we're gonna pull it up closer to us, if you
Yeah, I
don't
can't see
mind.
it.
We, yeah, if you can zoom it out a little bit, that would, thank you. All right, so we'll just kind of give an overview about this. So our zoning regulations have a conflict in the multifamily zone. We can read this. Why don't I give a couple minutes to read it? Is that okay, Dan?
Sure.
Members?
Can everybody see it? Can you see it, Frank?
Yeah, I can. I pulled it closer. Can all the members read the letter?
Yeah, yes, I can read it. I've got it on my own computer.
And Ella?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, great. So let's take a moment if we can all read it, because I don't think anybody's seen this before.
For the public that's calling in, you can go to the website and you can see what they're reading in our remote meetings folder for tonight.
Everybody finished with this first page by?
Yeah, I'm all set.
Yep,
Ella?
I'm set.
I
Okay.
read it before the meeting, so I'm all set.
So everybody had a chance to take a look at it all now?
I have.
Yes.
Okay. So, Deanna, do you wanna?
Sure, so
Talk
I'll
about
just, yeah, so I'll just kind of do an abbreviated since you read the memo discussion. So in the single family zones, we allow for multifamily, in the multifamily zone, you're allowed a maximum of 3 stories in the multifamily zone. But if you really dive into it and you look at the multifamily regulations, which is the separate section that if you're going to do a multifamily, which is 3 family or above, you would be guided by that section for multifamily. And at that section, it says 2.5 stories, okay, 2.5 stories with the 35-foot maximum height. So what ends up happening is, in theory, you could build a single house, a single family or a 2-family house in the multifamily zone up to 3 stories. But once you wanted to make a 3 or 4 family or multifamily development, you would be held to be in 2.5 stories, which doesn't make sense. Because why in a multifamily zone, why be created and built at 3 stories, but someone that wanted to do more than a 2-family would not be able to do that. It seems to be a conflict in the regulation to have 1 and 2 family houses in the multifamily zone be 3 stories, but not multifamily dwelling developments. So the interpretation is because it's a conflict.
Where's the?
So it's 2.5 shows in this. So here it is. Let's just look here. Multifamily zone, it's 3 stories, but come down here to bulk business. We go down, we have 3 in these different zones here for stories. Can you go down to the next page?
Back up.
And then now you're in the special requirements a little bit more.
Yeah.
So we can see the bottom. We
The
want to see
next
page
page.
3. Yep. So now we're here. No. So now we're in the bulk requirements for the multifamily developments, and it holds the maximum site height in the multifamily zone is 2.5. So we do have a developer that's asking there, does they know the conflict and said, we would like to do 3 stories, and from a construction standard, it does work out better. It's more cost effective, and it seems to be allowed for 1 and 2 family houses in that zone. And it's not really necessarily a variance. It just seems like there's a conflict because the intention seems like it should be 2.5 stories. I mean, 3 stories instead of 2.5. But it's up to the commission to make an interpretation.
3 stories in one place and 35 feet in one place, and this other section.
Yep. So they both have the 35 feet maximum height, but that's the difference between. So Dan, can you go back to the first for the residential? So it's still in the, go back here, just where there. So here in multifamily, you're still held to the height. Actually, it doesn't even give you a height here. It just, it holds you just at 3 stories in multifamily. So you have no limit. So in theory, you could build as high as you want, 3 stories, with, really tall ceilings but if you wanted to do a development of 3 or more family, house or a multifamily development, that you're held to 2.5.
So I guess the question then is, does it mean voting?
Frank, if you could speak up.
I'm sorry, Dan. Does anybody want to make a motion to make an interpretation of these regulations in connection with the maximum number of stories and building height in a multifamily zone?
Yeah, I'd be willing to put a motion out there to take it to 3 stories. Only because that's pretty much an industry standard, more so than what we have in our regulations. So I would go to 3 stories. And also, in addition to that, a question associated with that is, would we at a later time or in the near future come back to these charts and graphs and change them as they should
Yeah.
be? Okay, so okay, so I'll go ahead.
So Les, what we normally do is we don't, in the middle of working on the plan of conservation and development, you don't really make changes to your text or your zones at that time because you're so close to adopting a new plan. So this would just be a change that we would look at in the next plan. So it's really an interpretation that, so I just want to clarify the interpretation that in the multifamily zone from multi-dwelling developments, it would be allowed to be 3 stories in lieu of 2.5.
Yes, that's what I'd like the motion to be.
Okay.
And I, I know we're doing plan of conservation development, as long as we don't drop it through the cracks as
Nope.
far as losing this, as we do the plan of conservation and development update.
You want to include the height of 35 feet in that interpretation also?
I don't think there's a conflict in the height here, except for, yeah, but you could hold it to 30, yeah.
Why don't we clarify it?
Do we want to do a 30? Okay, 35 foot. Okay, so the motion would be to go to allow up to 3 stories. No higher than 35 feet.
Okay,
So that's the motion Les has made. Does anybody want to second it?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Ella. So we have a motion and a second, is there any further discussion?
I just have one quick question. You know, would putting those kinds of maximums in place have anything to do with like population density of the building, or, you know, is that going to be a concern?
I don't think so, Ella, because, you know, you have a big, you know, I don't think that it was an issue of concern. I think it's just a typo in the regs, but, you know, but if you have a 2-family, we have no maximum height on a 2-family for you, or a single family in the multifamily zone. You can build, you know, Taj Mahal there, but if you have multifamily more than 3, you're going to limit them to a certain height. It almost seems discriminatory, actually, you know what I mean? In that sense of like, what makes it harder to build at a lower height and lower stories to, you know, it costs more money too sometimes, you know, so I don't know. I don't think it's an issue for that, but I think that's a good point. But I think it's really, when we're just looking at right now, I think trying to stay focused on, is there a discrepancy in the regulations? And it appears that there is, and that's what, you know, I don't want to delve too much into what the reasoning behind it, but I'm thinking that it might be an error.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious on that one. Okay, thanks.
It's a good point, though.
No. So we have the motion, we have the second, and any other discussion then? Hearing none, all in favor?
I,
Okay, so
Okay.
the motion carries, and that's the interpretation of that section regarding multifamily
Dwelling development.
dwellings and stories and height.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So the next order of business is a hearing and potential action on an application of the Yantic Fire Engine Company for a special permit. I'm going to recuse myself from that. Well, actually, we can't get to it because we don't have a quorum if I
Change the
recuse
order.
myself. So when Mike Leahan gets here, then we'll be able to move on to that business, and Les will take over at that point.
Sounds good. Thank you.
So in the meantime, until Michael Leahan gets here, we're going to move on to a series of referrals regarding several matters.
Okay.
So the first one is a referral from the Norwich Zoning Board of Appeals pursuant to zoning regulations section 7.10.2.5. It's a ZBA use variance request, V2207, 215 Ferguson Avenue, AKA Forest View Drive.
All right. So, Deanna Rose, I will talk about this a little bit. This is a referral from the ZBA. You had this exact referral in September for the same property. I believe that they withdrew that application at the time and they resubmitted. And so it's the same application. They just provided a little bit more information to the ZBA this time. I'm not sure who was here at that meeting, but I'll read the motion from last time. Again, it's the same application. The ZBA does not have to hear the same application within 6 months, but they decided to allow them to come back. It was to Mark Benjamin, dated July 20th, 2022, regarding the use variance at a different application number this time than the other. But this was variance 22-4, and the variance application now is 22-7. And it was for AKA Forest Drive, 215 Ferguson Avenue. The Commission on the City Plan at the July 19th, 2022 hybrid regular meeting reviewed and discussed the above reference referral, which was sent to them by the Zoning Board of Appeals as required by zoning regulation 710.2.5 for use variance request. Seated were Frank Manfredi, Les King, Kathy Wazika, and Ella Miles, and Michael Lehan. After reviewing and discussing the proposal relative to zoning, Kathy Wazika made a motion to recommend against the use variance, stating that they currently have reasonable use of the property. The motion was seconded by Ella Miles. The votes were in favor was Les King, Ella Miles, Michael Lehan, and Kathy Wazika. Opposed was Frank Manfredi. The motion passed 4-1. And then it was signed by Frank after that. So it is the same property, the same project. If you need a refresher, what it's about, I think it's up on the screen. Requesting a variance to permit the use of premises for construction of single-family condominium units. If you remember, this is in the business park zone where they no longer allow residential construction. They did not finish the project, it expired, and they want to go back and build additional residences.
Does anybody need more information at this point? So I'll go ahead, Les.
No, I have a question. We've already moved on this one.
It's a new application number because they allowed them to come back. So the referral is a fresh referral, but it's the same as exactly as before. So it's up to you if you want to do the same referral, the same recommendation.
Well, if nothing's changed, I don't know if we have any grounds to change what we had originally made a decision on, in my opinion.
And I kind of echo that sentiment because, we had this conversation previously that they had, 10 years or so to do something with the property, and they didn't.
Yeah, so
I-
it's the same information, but
Same
you still need to act on this particular application. So if somebody wants to make a motion, they can do so.
I'll make the motion to deny the variance request.
It would be to recommend against the variance to the ZBA.
Yes.
We can't make a decision on it.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Okay.
So,
Do you want to state the same reasons as previously, which is stating that they currently have reasonable use of the property?
Yes.
so Ella's made the motion, and is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, and any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to recommend against the use variance?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm opposed again, so.
Okay, so it passes still. Okay, 2-1. Thank you.
All right, so that matter is done. The next matter is a referral from the Norwich City Council regarding an ordinance authorizing the issuance of a non-revolving master line of credit facility and related documents by the City of Norwich Department of Public Utilities in an amount not to exceed $10 million to finance capital improvements related to its gas and electric infrastructure.
So this is a referral and from NPU through NPU. So they do have representatives here on the call if you have questions about this referral.
Does anybody have any questions for the representative of public utilities regarding this?
I have no questions.
Okay, Ella,
No, I have no questions.
okay, there being no questions, does somebody want to make a motion regarding this particular referral?
I'll make a motion for a positive referral to the city council on this particular item.
Okay. Do we have
It
a
is in-
second, Ella?
Yeah, I'm sorry,
I'm
as
sorry.
it is in accordance with plan of conservation and development.
Yes,
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second regarding this particular ordinance. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
I,
Okay,
Okay.
so it passes unanimously.
excuse me.
So that's, next is another referral from the city council. It's an ordinance appropriating $6.75 million for the cost of the rehabilitation and replacement of the South Thames Street Pump Station force main in the city of Norwich, authorizing the issuance of $6.75 million in revenue bonds of the city secured solely by sewer revenues to meet said appropriation, and authorizing the city and the sewer authority to enter into grant and loan agreements in a joint resolution with the state of Connecticut with respect thereto. So that's the next referral for the South Thames Street Pump Station, $6.75 million.
And there's representatives from Norwich Public Utilities available if there is a question about this. And that's it.
So are there any questions regarding this particular referral?
And Mike Lahan just joined the meeting.
Okay, I just have an observation on this one in particular. It seems like these are all hitting all at once. That's a pretty significant amount. I know that's not within our purview, because we look at is it in accordance with the plan of conservation and development, but it's still a significant amount of money that's coming through all of a sudden. And I think there's going to be some friction there along the way on some of this. But with that being said, I would be willing to put a motion in place to send in a positive referral as this is in accordance with the plan of conservation and development.
Okay, so we have a motion. Anybody want to make a second? Mike, do you feel competent to vote on that particular one? You just walked in.
I'll second.
Okay, so Ella seconded. There any other discussion other than Les's comments?
Well, just reading through it, it looks like about half of it's going to be grant funded, through the state of Connecticut. So it's not really going to be the whole 6.7 million. And I feel a little bit better about that. So.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree. I agree. It's just they're all coming through all at once. It's just interesting that they weren't sort of staggered out there. So it's easier to move them through like that. So.
Yeah, no. Understood.
Frank,
Good. And this one is, secure.
Frank, we can't hear you.
Okay.
No, you're pinging. Can anybody hear Frank?
No, there's a pretty bad lag.
Yeah.
Can we move the microphone around again on your table there, Frank? Looks like it froze up.
Well, I guess we'll pause for a moment here.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
All right. All right.
You can hear us now, please?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so I think where we were was there was a motion and a motion by Les with a second by Ella to make a positive referral on the ordinance for the South Thames Street Pump Station costs, appropriation, and issuance of revenue bonds. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. If there's no other discussion, then we'll go right to a vote. All in favor?
All right,
I,
Michael, do you want to abstain?
Yeah, I'll stay 'cause I didn't know.
Okay,
Okay, so
Yeah,
Mike is here, but he's going to abstain because he walked in halfway through. So with that said, the motion passes unanimously.
on to
Okay.
the other.
Yeah, so why don't we at this point, because Mike is here and we have enough people to have a quorum for the public hearing on the Yantic Fire Engine Company application SP 2203. So I'm going to recuse myself from that. Les, you can take over the meeting, please, for that public hearing.
okay, thank you, Frank. So this is in relation to a public hearing and potential action of the following application. Special permit 22-03 in relation to 143, 147, and 151 Yantic Road. Request for a special permit for proposed site development, land disturbance activities in a FEMA designated special flood hazard area and floodway to create a training area for fire apparatus. Proposed improvements include a 3,000 square foot addition to an existing garage, expanded and resurfaced paved parking area, stormwater management improvements, lighting, and landscaping. Application and property of Yantic Fire Engine Company, represented by Chief Bill Ibers, on Assessor's Map number 49, Block 1, lots 42, 43, and 44. And the zone is neighborhood commercial. And I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, public hearing is open. And do we have an applicant or a representative of the application for any
Yes.
type of presentation?
Dave McKay is here for the applicant.
Okay, Dave, welcome to the commission. Go right ahead.
Thank you. For the record, my name is David McKay with Boundaries LLC, here on behalf of the applicant Yantic Fire Engine Company. Also on the call with me is Chief Bill Ibers. I'll start by sharing my screen just with the aerial photo of the properties we're discussing, so we can see where we're working. You can see Yantic Road here, the Hale Mill property, and the Yantic River. And the subject properties owned by Yantic Fire Engine Company are 143 Yantic Road, 147, and 151 Yantic Road. 143 currently is open gravel area that has recently been used for construction staging. 147 contains an existing detached garage and paved parking that's used by the fire engine company. And then 151 is the current and existing fire engine company building. Now I will share some photos around the site to give you an idea of the existing conditions. This is a photo standing in Yantic Road of 143 Yantic Road. That area showing the gravel laydown area, and then the vegetation is the embankment of Yantic River. Right now that's some brushy vegetation that's growing immediately behind the stone retaining wall that forms the bank of the river. And this is just another view of the edge of the gravel area standing at the top of that bank. And then looking towards Hale Mill, the gravel laydown. This is a photo of the existing stormwater management on the property. All stormwater runoff from the paved parking area and the garage and most of the fire engine company rooftop drains through this paved leak off, which is right at the top of the stone wall, discharging directly into Yantic River. As part of this project, that'll be eliminated to provide greatly improved stormwater management. This photo is standing at that leak off, and you can see the amount of pavement that drains directly to it. and there's the existing garage building right here. And then another view of the Hale Mill building from the parking lot next to the existing garage. All right. Now I'll switch over to our site development plans and run through those and describe what we're proposing for this property. All right, so this is our existing condition survey, a little different orientation from the aerial photo, with north being on the left-hand side of the screen. You can see our gravel laydown area here, the existing paved parking area and paved leak off. Here, the existing garage, and then the existing fire station. And while we're on the sheet, I'll just note that as part of this project, that leak off will be eliminated, and the pavement behind the garage here is also going to be demolished and eliminated as part of this project. Now, the proposal consists of two parts. One is improvements to 143 Yantic Road that consist of providing a new paved training and parking area for the fire department. Purpose of this area is to provide ample space to work with hoses and other pieces of equipment that leave access to the existing garage and fire station building open in the case of an emergency. Currently, if training's occurring, it happens in this existing paved area. And if an emergency were to occur, equipment stored in this garage here would be blocked. So just more of an ease of access and ease of emergency response improvement. And also this allows for parking during emergencies that is also outside of the access for the garage. So this is a 11,390 square foot paved area here. About 3,300 square feet of that is proposed to be pervious pavement. That pervious pavement is sized to capture not only the first inch of runoff, providing stormwater treatment, but it also provides peak flow rate attenuation that is lower than under current conditions with the existing leak off that drains directly to the river. At the limit of that pavement, there's a crushed stone filter just to help with improved treatment of runoff, and then a proposed unmowed vegetated strip here between the parking area and the river, and some new landscaping to take place of the brush and vegetation that's currently at the limit of the gravel staging area. And then just immediately behind that existing stone retaining wall, a short about 5 to 7 foot wide riprap slope, just to keep that area behind the retaining wall as stable as possible. And up here along the right of way of Yantic Road, a proposed granite curbed and paver landscaped island that is intended to dress up the area and match the existing pavers and cobblestones that are used around the existing Yantic Fire building. So that's part one of the proposed site development, is this paved training area and the stormwater management features. Part two is the proposed new 3,000 square foot 3-bay garage. And that's intended to be located immediately adjacent to the existing garage. Now, as mentioned in the call for the meeting, this property is located entirely within the floodplain. And this dark dashed line here is the limit of FEMA's floodway. So proposed work in the floodway related to the building, there is none. Proposed work related to the training area, there's a little bit of the pervious pavement, the crushed stone filter, timber guide rail right at the edge, also to keep equipment and everything on the pavement, and then the unmowed and landscape buffer strip here. And then for work within the floodplain, we do have the proposed 3,000 square foot garage. That garage is proposed to be dry flood proofed. So the elevation of the foundation wall will extend 1 foot above the floodplain elevation of 112. So our foundation wall extends to elevation 113. The floor of the garage is 109. So that's a 4 foot foundation wall. And then at each of the doors, there's going to be steel channel sections mounted to the building that allow for steel plates to be placed in times of forecast flood to prevent water from entering the building through the doorways. As part of that work to provide dry flood proofing, this building does displace flood volume. So we are proposing compensatory storage for the volume of floodwaters displaced by the dry flood proofing in the proposed garage. That's being provided in our proposed paved training area and landscape buffer by cutting this property down to provide that compensatory storage, and then also in the area where we've eliminated the pavement and the paved leak off adjacent to the river, that area will also be cut down. Just flip to my notes to get the right numbers. The dry flood proofing of the garage displaces 378 cubic yards of flood volume. And the landscape island here displaces 18 cubic yards of flood volume. So between the two, we have a total of 396 cubic yards of fill in the floodplain. And that's being compensated by a cut of 403 cubic yards in the grading of the parking and training area and the grading where the pavement is being eliminated behind the garage. So we have an excess of 7 cubic yards of compensatory storage. Therefore, the proposal will not result in increased flood elevations in this area. All right, next sheet is our utilities plan. There are sewer, water, electric, and soon to be gas located in Yantic Road. The proposed garage will take advantage of those existing utilities. And then in addition to those utilities, there are going to be a few light poles installed around the training area. And those are selected to match the light poles that were used just to the south on the repairs to the bridge. And I should have a this detail here showing what those post tops are going to look like, and that matches what's been used on the bridge. And then you can see on here, this also serves as our site lighting plan. These lines here are iso-illuminance contours, which demonstrate how far the light spreads from the proposed light posts. So you can see that outer limit there is contained within the property and doesn't spill onto the adjacent commercial property. And now we get to our notes and detail sheets. This does have a detailed sediment erosion control plan, especially due to the proximity to the Yantic River. A straw wattle is proposed to be installed at the limits of disturbance right behind that existing stone retaining wall at the beginning of construction. The benefit of using this type of material for the sediment barrier is it's fairly easy to carry around and can be installed with limited soil disturbance. So it can be put in place before any clearing or grubbings happened, especially in that area right behind the retaining wall. There is a catch basin in Yantic Road, which will provide inlet protection for, and then the rest of these details are related to the construction of the parking area with our pavement cross section, granite curbing installation detail for the proposed island, standard bituminous curbing detail along the sides of the parking area, detail for the pavers for the island, and then a detail for our crushed stone filter strip at the limits of pavement and the pervious pavement section. So this pervious pavement, the way this works, there's little fine material in the course of asphalt. So it actually allows runoff to flow directly through that top layer of asphalt. It's filtered by different layers of pea stone, crushed stone, and sand before it gets to a final storage reservoir that's sized with that storage volume to provide the treatment of the runoff and also those peak flow rate reduction that we discussed. And we're also going to have perforated PVC at the top of that reservoir. So in the case when the ground may be frozen, this pavement surface doesn't get damaged. Those higher flows would be able to drain through the PVC drains into the existing stormwater pipe that crosses through the property. And the system has been sized so that there's adequate storage volume below those outlets for the treatment of runoff and the peak runoff rate attenuation. So it will operate as intended even during frozen conditions. And just to demonstrate here, the catch basins in Yantic Road running through an existing 18-inch pipe out to the river. This is a city drain pipe, and we'll be connecting part of the way through here with our under drain system. And then the last sheet here just has the standard details for the remainder of the work, including utilities details, the proposed riprap slope immediately behind that stone retaining wall, details for the light pole and drain manhole, timber guide rail, and the under drain. So that brings us through the site plan portion. And now just to take a look at the proposed garage building elevations. So we'll start looking down from the top, matching the site plan, have the existing garage here, and immediately adjacent to that, the new 3,000 square foot garage building. View of the north elevation, there's an access doorway. You can see here the foundation wall extending to elevation 113, 1 foot above the flood elevation. And that's going to have a stone veneer. I'm going to flip to some photos of the existing buildings after looking at the elevation drawings to show the aesthetic that this building is intended to match. It's intended to use some of the features from the existing fire department building and also match the colors of the existing garage with the green and tan and yellow color pattern, and then the stones and stucco siding. And then facing the street, we have our garage elevation here with the overhead doors, and then the pattern that you'll see in the photos of the fire department building that matches very closely. And same on this side of the building, foundation extending to elevation 113 to provide that dry flood proofing. Another side entrance on the south side of the building facing the training area, continuation of the foundation with the stone veneer and the stucco finish on the side, and then down to our floor plan here with the new garage and the access doors here that'll be provided with the flood plan panels and channel sections. And here's our existing photos. This is just to give an idea of the color scheme that we'll be looking at with the greens and yellow, and then the patterns on the existing fire department building with the stucco finish and pattern above the garage doors. and that same coloring. And then the stone veneer on the tower and adjacent to the garage doors. So that proposed building is intended to take all of these features and meld them together. All right. So now look back just so we have something to look at on the site plan, and I have a discussion of how this project meets the criteria of the special permit, and also how it meets the criteria of the floodplain and floodway overlay district. I'll just give a brief excerpt of each of the special permit criteria and a brief discussion of how our project meets each of those criteria. So start with section 7.7.6.1. The proposed use must be consistent with the current Norwich Plan of Conservation and Development. This is consistent with the POCD. The project consists of improvements to the property, and it supports an existing community use. And you know, it's currently a vacant gravel area. Proposed landscaping, parking, and training area are visual improvements, and also it doesn't result in any increased development density in an area that's designated as a lower development focus area. So that's how it meets the POCD. There are other plans that that the city has in place, specifically the hazard mitigation plan, and this relates to the floodplain special criteria as well. But the hazard mitigation plan includes a long-term recommendation greater than 20 years to find a new location for the Atlantic Fire Engine Company outside of the flood hazard area. So the fire department looked at this back in 2017, and estimated cost at that time was approximately $14 million. So the proposed improvements that we have on the site plan and the building elevation drawings today are intended to meet the short-term needs of the fire engine company until funding is available for that new location in the long-term 20-year window. So as discussed, that proposed paved area, it's intended to provide the training area that doesn't conflict with the existing garage and also the proposed garage during times of emergency. And the proposed garage is intended to address other short-term needs of the department. The ventilation system in the existing fire department building doesn't meet OSHA requirements for storage of diesel-powered vehicles, and it has not been able to be upgraded to be fully compliant due to the historic construction of the building. The existing building and detached garage are also undersized without adequate storage space for used equipment until it has been cleaned per current standards. And also there is not enough space at the facility to house all the equipment that's needed. Currently, there's off-site storage for a boat for the fire engine company, extra hoses, and other equipment, all of which ideally would be located on this property for access during an emergency. So this proposal is intended to meet the short-term needs of the fire department until that long-term 20-year plan for the alternate location can be funded. So next section, 7.7.6.2, the location and size of the site, nature and intensity of the operations involved in or conducted in connection with the use, and the location of the site with respects to streets giving access to it must be such that the use will be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development in the district in which it is located and will promote the welfare of the city. This site is serving the existing fire department building, so it won't be increasing the amount of traffic in the area. It utilizes the existing curb cuts at the existing parking area for entering the site with only a proposed exit located here. And then all exiting vehicles will be using these existing curb cuts in times of emergency directly in front of the garage bay doors. Section 7.7.6.3, the design elements of the proposed development must be attractive and suitable in relation to the site characteristics, the style of the other buildings in the immediate area, and the existing and probable future character of the neighborhood in which the use is located. The work on 143 Yantic Road is a great improvement over the gravel surface that's there now, with the proposed pervious pavement, allowing for the abandonment of the leak off, and also the new attractive landscape island, and also landscape buffer and unmowed buffer between the parking area and the river. And then the proposed building is intended to match the existing historic features of the existing fire department building. So meshes very well with the characteristics of the neighborhood. 7.7.6.4, the location, nature, and height of buildings, walls, and fences, and the nature and extent of the planned activities and landscaping of the site must be such that the use will not hinder or discourage the appropriate development and use of adjacent land or buildings or impair the value thereof. The abutting properties are currently developed with commercial uses, and this proposed development is an improvement over the existing conditions, so it won't have a negative future impact. 7.7.6.5, the proposed use or activity must have no adverse effect upon the negative neighboring area resulting from the use of signs, exposed artificial lights, colored lights of any nature, flashing lights, loudspeakers, or other noise-making devices. The lighting plan was included in the site plans, demonstrating that the light will not be trespassing onto the adjacent properties. 7.7.6.6, in cases where it is proposed to convert a structure designed and built originally for other uses, the structure must be adaptable to the proposed use. There's no proposed change in the use of the property. 7.7.6.7, design, location, and specific details of the proposed use must not adversely affect safety in the streets, nor unreasonably increase traffic congestion in the area, nor interfere with the pattern of vehicle circulation. And existing vehicle patterns are going to be maintained, and this isn't going to result in an increase in traffic in the area. It's just intended to serve and improve the existing fire department property. 7.7.6.8, parking areas must be of adequate size for the particular use and suitably screened from adjoining residential uses. The entrance and exit drives must be laid out so as to prevent traffic hazards and nuisances. There's existing stockade fence along the property line here between the existing commercial property and the proposed parking area, and we have the proposed vegetated buffer here on the bank of the Yantic River. And then as discussed before, the existing curb cuts will still be used to enter and exit the property. 7.7.6.9, streets, drives, and other right-of-ways must be of such size, condition, and capacity to adequately accommodate the traffic. There's going to be no additional traffic generated as a result of this project. So the existing conditions are suitable for the traffic it sees. 7.7.6.10, provisions for water supply, sewage disposal, and stormwater drainage must conform to accepted engineering practices, comply with all standards of the appropriate regulatory authority, and must not unduly burden the capacity of such facilities. Plan's been reviewed by the city engineer and Norwich Public Utilities, and everything proposed for the utilities and stormwater management is found to be in order. 7.7.6.11, the proposed use or activity must provide easy accessibility for fire apparatus and police protection, and must be laid out and equipped to further the provision of emergency services. This is the fire department property, and as discussed, it does improve their access to the property by providing a separate area for training in the case of an emergency response. 7.7.6.12, appropriate consideration shall be given to the protection, preservation, and/or enhancement of natural, scenic, historic, and unique resources, including where appropriate the use of conservation restrictions to protect and permanently preserve natural, scenic, historic, or unique features which enhance the character and environment of the area. This project does enhance the area by replacing the gravel laydown area with a new landscape paved area, and then the proposed building is intended to match the existing historic fire department structure in its architectural features. And finally, 7.7.6.13. Adequate provision must be made for sustained maintenance of the proposed development, structure, streets, and other improvements, and that's acknowledged, and that infrastructure will be maintained by the property owner. So those are the special permit criteria. There also are special permit criteria related to the floodplain development. So I'll just quickly run through those few items as well and describe how this proposal meets those requirements. So there is proposed activity within the floodway, and that's governed by zoning regulations section 3.4.5, which prohibits fill, new construction, substantial improvements, or repairs to substantially damaged structures, and requires that fences within the floodway must be aligned with the flow and of an open design. Our proposed activity in the floodway doesn't include any new structures, doesn't include any improved structures, doesn't include any fill, only cut. And the proposed guide rail, which could be considered to be a fence, is open in nature and also parallel to the flow of the river. Under sections 3.4.7.3 and 4, regrading and paved areas are special permit uses that are allowed in the floodplain. And per section 3.4.7.5.3, new construction and substantial improvements of non-residential structures are special permit uses in the floodplain if the structure is designed to be dry flood proof to 1 foot above the base flood elevation. And all utilities are designed to be 1 foot above the base flood elevation. As described before, the foundation wall is going to be set 1 foot above the base flood elevation, and the building is going to be provided with removable flood panels at the doorways, also to 1 foot above the base flood elevation to meet that requirement. And also, as part of that, the foundation is designed to resist flotation and the velocities of the floodwaters. And then finally, as discussed, the proposed cut generated behind the garage here, and also in the grading to pitch the training area to the pervious paved area, is in excess of the volume displaced by the dry flood proofing in the building, providing an excess of 7 cubic yards of compensatory storage. Therefore, the development will not result in an increase in the elevation of the floodplain. All right. Well, that takes me through my presentation. Are there any questions?
Okay, thank you for that very thorough presentation. A lot of information there. As he said, is there any questions of the commission members or the city staff?
Yeah, can you tell me when was the last time the Yantic River flooded the fire station?
Chief Bill, would you be able to?
Yeah, the last significant flood over the banks and was probably 85-ish, at least in the village itself. And at that time, there was significant damage upstream, up by the old maple shade. We lost part of the road up there, and I'm gonna, that's a rough guess off the top of my head. It was quite a while ago.
But it was subsequent to that the Yantic River was dredged basically to prevent flooding all along down the Yantic River.
Yeah, again, I believe it was around that time frame or after that time frame. But it's that would obviously never happen again, and it's kind of returned to its natural. The river's returned to its natural beauty. So, but yes, that was done quite a while ago. Absolutely.
Okay. I have no further questions.
So Dan has a memo. Do you
Yeah,
want to call that
Dave.
up, Dan?
No, I don't. Dave, can you unshare your screen?
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
So I have a very brief memo. All the comments were addressed at the time that I had drafted the memo. The Wetlands Commission approved the plan at the September 1st meeting. The approval letter is on the cover of the plan set that Dave showed you tonight. And then everything else, we do have the copies of the mailing receipts. We do want the FEMA flood certificates before zoning permits are issued, or certificates of compliance. And Dave already went through the special permit criteria. The commission needs to close the public hearing before you make a decision, and I will just show the exhibit list, which I will provide to Melinda rather than reading through everything. It's here on the screen in the recording. I ask you to waive the reading of that. I don't have any further comments. Dave's presentation was thoroughly detailed. And I'll turn it back to you, Les.
Okay, thank you. Does any other commission members or city staff have any questions?
I have a question,
Yes.
and this might be for Dave. Did you provide a bond amount for the erosion and sediment control, and was that reviewed by Brian Long?
Yes, it was. And I don't know, Dan, do you think you have that
Yeah, I'm looking.
easily available? I did not organize myself appropriately.
It's okay. I just wanted to know if Dan, do you know if he reviewed it for the wetlands too?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, good. So we don't have to have the dollar amount as long as we're in
Okay.
agreement that. Oh,
Seven
here it is.
thousand $388.48.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And I see we have several people signed on here. So as this is a public hearing, is there anybody else that would like to speak in favor of this application?
Yes, I would, please.
Yeah, go right ahead. Okay.
No, so just a couple of
Need his
things.
name.
Oh, I'm sorry, William Ivers, Chief of the Antic Fire Department. And I reside on Fitchville Road in the Antic section of the city. So, you know, the proposed building is just that, proposed. There's no funding available right now. And again, we thought it'd be advantageous at this time to include it with the parking lot expansion. So the other thing that we kind of have to be a little more cognizant of is because we are on a dead end road, when we do training, as Dave kind of mentioned, parking lot's full and we revert to the road. We revert to the gravel parking lot. We revert to the parking lot up by the old maple shade. And that all may change. That's all gonna change with the construction and improvements that are gonna be made to the Hale Mill. And that's really gonna kind of cramp our style. So again, this is really for parking for us. It's for a little more suitable training area for us, just to get us off the road. And again, to make some of those immediate improvements to the parking area and future improvements to the structure, you know, if and when funding becomes available.
So I just want to clarify, Mike Lahan asked me a question. Special permits, if they're approved, the special permit runs with the land, but the site plan itself expires in 5 years. But you can come back for an extension of a site plan. So it's not, you know, but you can't wait for it to expire, then come back. You want to, you know, so if you're going for funding and it's 4 years from now, then at that point, you should definitely come back and ask for an additional extension. Because what it does is it grandfathered in the special permit aspects, which is the special flood hazard stuff at this point, but it doesn't guarantee everything else is in place. So just kind of just keep that in mind if should you get an approval that the site plan itself is good for 5 years.
Yes, no, thank you. We do understand that. Thank you.
Okay. And thank you, Chief, for your input. We appreciate that. And is there any other public that would like to speak in favor of this application? Anyone else in favor of this application? Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this application? Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this application? Is there anyone else that would like to, anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this application? Okay, hearing none. Dan or Deanna, do you guys have any, do you have anything else you'd like to add before we go to action?
I do not.
Okay, so hearing none.
Oh, hold on, Mike Lehan has something.
I
Yep.
just want to know if there's any chance that the Yannick Fire Department has to bring back the maple shade in all of its former glories.
Stop it. We're working here.
You know which glory I'm talking
We're
about.
working here.
Guess not, huh? Okay, then, I would like to,
We haven't closed the public hearing.
oh, we did.
Okay, yeah, so hearing no other speakers, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Second,
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, and now we will entertain a motion for action.
Okay, then I would move under, special permit number 22-03 for 143, 147, and 150 Yantic Road, that the request for a special permit for the proposed site in FEMA designated special flood area as an area should be approved based on the criteria that that David McKay all went over, outlining the sections of the zoning regulations for the city, and a finding by the commission that it meets all those qualifications for the special permit, and that it also meets the standards, the floodway standards that are also in the regulations from 3.4.5 onwards. Subject to the posting of a bond for sedimentation and erosion control in the amount of $7,388.48.
Okay,
And whatever other conditions in Dan's memo, item 9, and all the bullet points thereunder, be part of the conditions for the granting of the special permit.
okay, thank you. We have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second on the table. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any oppositions, abstentions? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you for your time this evening.
Yes, thank you for your time and effort, everyone. Thank you.
Absolutely. Keep up the great work out there. We appreciate all you do for the community.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay, thank you,
Okay, with
everybody
that
for
being,
that.
with that being said, yeah, I'll turn the meeting back over to you, Frank.
Thank you, Les.
Absolutely.
All right, so we were on, I think we finished D, we're on E.
Yeah.
It's a referral from the Norwich City Council, excuse me, of an ordinance appropriating $2.4 million for the planning, design, and repair of the Yantic water tank in the city, authorizing the issuance of $2.4 million of revenue bonds of the city secured solely by water revenue to meet said appropriation, and authorizing the city and the Department of Public Utilities to enter into grant and loan agreements and a joint resolution with the state of Connecticut with respect thereto. Deanna, any comments?
No, there's someone here from Public Utilities. If you have any questions tonight on this referral.
Does anybody have any questions regarding this referral?
No, I have no questions.
Hearing no questions, can we have a motion then regarding the referral?
I'll make a motion that we send an affirmative referral
Okay, to the city council.
to the city council as it is in accordance with the plan of conservation and development.
All right, so we have a motion from Les to send a positive referral. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that referral passes positively and unanimously. Next is another referral from the Norwich City Council regarding an ordinance appropriating $2.25 million for the costs of the rehabilitation and replacement of the Rose Alley Pump Station force main in the city of Norwich, authorizing the issuance of $2.25 million in revenue bonds of the city, secured solely by sewer revenues to meet said appropriation, and authorizing the city and the sewer authority to enter into grant and loan agreements and a joint resolution with the state of Connecticut with respect thereto. Again, any questions or discussion regarding this referral?
I have none.
Okay, so hearing no questions or discussion, can we have a motion then on this referral?
I'll make a motion that we send an affirmative referral to the city council as it is in accordance with the plan of conservation and development.
All right, thank you, Les. Can we have a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ella. So we have the motion and the second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion for a positive referral of the ordinance passes unanimously. Have another referral from the city council regarding an ordinance appropriating $1.8 million for the costs associated with a tank aeration mixing system at Stanley Israelite Business Park in the city of Norwich, authorizing the issuance of $1.8 million of revenue bonds of the city, secured solely by water revenue to meet said appropriation, and authorizing the city of Norwich and the Department of Public Utilities to enter into grant and loan agreements and a joint resolution with the state of Connecticut with respect thereto. Any questions or discussion regarding this referral?
I have none.
Yeah, this is
Yep.
regarding water revenue.
Yep.
No discussion, therefore we'll put it to a vote. All in favor?
You want a
Oh,
motion
I'm
first?
sorry. Thanks for keeping me awake, Mike.
I'll make a motion that we send a positive referral to the city council as this is in accordance with the plan of conservation and development.
All right, thank you for the motion, Les. Second,
I'll second.
thank you, Ella. So now, is there any discussion or questions regarding the motion itself? Hearing none, then all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that referral passes unanimously again. And finally, we have a referral from the Norwich City Council for an ordinance appropriating $1.8 million for costs associated with a tank aeration mixing system at Richard Brown Drive in the town of Montville, authorizing the issuance of $1.8 million of revenue bonds of the city of Norwich, secured solely by water revenue to meet said appropriation, and authorizing the city of Norwich and Department of Public Utilities to enter into grant and loan agreements and a joint resolution with the state of Connecticut with respect thereto. So this is an ordinance regarding water revenues,
Different location. This is at Richard Brown Drive.
yeah, in the town of Montville.
Yeah.
So any questions regarding this particular referral? Okay, I don't hear any questions. Do we have a motion then regarding this referral?
I'll make a motion that we send an affirmative referral to the city council as it does comply with the plan of conservation and development.
Okay, so we have the motion from Les. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ella. So we have a motion and
I know, I was like, you're just sitting back, just slacking tonight.
he's cruising. A motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
All right,
I,
The motion passes unanimously for a affirmative referral on that ordinance to the city council. All right,
The last big one.
and then we have on the agenda, another referral from the city council regarding an ordinance amending the zoning map of the city of Norwich and creating a business master plan district. And it's my understanding that this is going to be tabled.
Yep, so I would like to table this, but with all the information is, Dan, do you want to tell them where it's at? Where they go to this for the information?
Yeah, the city clerk has it on an online OneDrive page. And I did I can send you an email with the link.
Okay.
Okay.
There's a
Because,
link in this document. It doesn't always bring you to the right spot.
yeah, this is complete business master plan document, because we can send this to you, but it doesn't always work. So we'll send you a separate link. So because the zoning authority, obviously you all know this, is the council. This is for the originally adopted regulations to have a business master plan district. Now, this is the actual application for the rezoning. And that is, it's an overlay zone, if you remember, so it overlays on top of what's there. So it's there, it gives the underlying uses and additional uses there for this business master plan district. And then to be approved, it has to have the master plan associated with it. So it's not just a rezoning and looking at it. So what this means for this, this commission is that the proposal, actually, you need to look at the documents, which you really want to look at is the layout of the development, the layout of it's not individual sites. They're not going to be a subdivision. So it's kind of like a condoized division of land. And the roadway coming in and the connectivity and that kind of thing. Individual, should this be approved by the council, this master plan, individual site plans for those individual lots would come in and get developed, depending on if it's a site special permit use or a site plan use, those kind of things would come in. But take a look at it overall. It did go to inland wetlands and was approved already. And now it's before the council for the zone change in the master plan. Because the city is so integrated with this application, and NCDC is the applicant and the city has financial interest in things like that. And it, from ethical standpoint, Dan and I have recused ourselves from working on this and stepped back and hired an outside planning consultant whose name is Don Poland with Goldman in York. So he's got his PhD in planning. He's an economic development professional. So he's very familiar with how these business parks work and things like that. So read his memo. His memo is up there. It's been given again through the council. So it goes through Betsy. And then they, Mark Block's office has responded to that on behalf of the applicant, which is NCDC. And then there was another supplement amendment to Don Poland's original memo. He had COVID when he was writing it, and he had put a thought down that he was going to finish his thought later, and he never finished it. So he went back and went, oops, I need to finish that. So
is this all those things on this link that we're going to be getting?
so all of those documents should be in there. Again, it's through the clerk's office. So in the document of the master plans is probably what, 10 pages, Dan, at least? The site plans, it's probably like 10 pages. So take a look at that, the layout, take a look at those things. So we're going to table it to give you guys some really good time to look at it. If there's something that comes up between now and the next meeting that's really, you have a specific question that you want to ask the planner, please send me an email and I will refer it to him to answer for you individually, not through the whole commission, but if there's some specific thing. The hope for the applicant and for the council has scheduled their public hearing for December 5th. So that they would like you to be able to make your decision on the referral at your November meeting. So if there's something when you're reading this over that jumps out that you think is going to be a sticking point for you, it would be helpful that I could be able to send that information on to them ahead of time.
Please make sure that this thing gets sent.
Yep, so, yep, exactly. So November 15th is that meeting. So I'm gonna quickly say here that Dan Deniska will not be here because Dan is getting married on November 11th. Woo-hoo! Yay!
Or condolences, I'm not sure.
So Dan is leaving me on this big
I'm
one.
recusing myself to Mexico for this.
I know, he's going to Mexico and this, he's doing it purposely not to have to deal with this business master plan district. I know that's what it's trying to, you set your wedding date purposely. So,
Yeah, congratulations, Dan.
Thank you.
That's
so
great.
we're going to, hopefully, I think Dan and I will try to work, just to let you know, our room in the basement, we'll talk about this, just because it has to do with this application. We'd really like to move our meetings back to 23 Union. We've remodeled that room. We have new tables, we have new chairs. We're just doing the technology stuff right now, and we're hoping to have that all ready to go before Dan leaves. And then we'll be able to have our meeting there, move back to 23 Union. And I will ask someone to assist me with the online stuff so we can, Don will be really presenting to you that night. With your permission, I'd like to not have anything else on that agenda that evening. There is no other applications. There's one that's coming in, but we've already told them that we're probably not going to have them on to a December. So is everyone comfortable with just having that item on the agenda?
Yeah, that should be fine.
I am.
Unless some kind of
Yeah, if it was an
something comes
emergency,
up.
obviously. Okay, so we're gonna, so do you need to have a motion to table something?
Yeah, I think it's-
Oh, I'll make a motion to table it.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion to table and a second,
Table until when? Because you have to be kind of specific.
Just
November 15th.
November
Yeah,
15th, our next
November
meeting.
15th. Yeah.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank
Okay, So
you.
that's tabled.
Tabled.
And moving on in the agenda, we have nothing under old business that I see.
No,
We have a bond reduction request.
Yes.
For STP 944 97 Weber Farm Road.
Dan, could you bring that one up, the request? You have that handy or not? Don't, I got it somewhere in here. So this is a kind of a really, really old one. So I have it right here. Yep, here it is. This came in on July 5th, 2022, to my office, to my attention. I'm writing in reference to site development plan 944, which was initiated approximately 15 years ago, and to which I have not held title for over 7 years. Having just learned the existence of the remaining bond, I am formally requesting the release of the bond on a passbook being held by Eastern Savings Bank in the amount of $5,000. Any questions, I can be reached at, and his phone number and his email. Thank you for your cooperation. Sincerely, Irving Weber. So this is the Weber farm. This is that. So what happened was, remember you, after subsequent to this, we actually approved another site development plan. I don't know if you remember, for the rest of those condos out there. And they never filed the Mylars on there, just so you know. So the next person that bought this from them didn't file the Mylars, and it's still a little bit of time, but they just sold the development to someone else. And during that, I think he learned about, hey, I have some money from, 2 sales ago kind of thing. So he did the work for those first 3 units that are out there. And it's just that open space back there. So there's no improvements that he's required to do because nothing else was developed at that time. So we've looked at it and we're comfortable with the release of the $5,000 bond to Mr. Weber.
So that's the small road that's off of Weber Farm Road,
So
where they put in 3,
yes,
like 3 condominium buildings.
where John Salomon lives. I don't know if you know where John lives. He's one of those the last one that was built. And then the rest of it was back there. I think there was gonna be 6 more back
Yeah.
there. And those have yet to be built and they never filed the Mylars. And that was probably a good 4 years ago that the commission, because they had that whole septic system. Remember, it's all tied in across each other's. Very complicated development because they have to put in this kind of shared septic kind of thing. It's very interesting. But anyway, so this guy's really been out of it since he built them for a long time ago. So he'd like his $5,000 back.
We have a motion regarding the bond release.
I will make a motion that.
We can't hear you when you speak, Frank.
Can we have a motion regarding the bond release?
We'll make a motion to release the bond.
All right, second? Do we
I'll
have a
second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so that bond will be released.
Yep.
Next matter we have is a POCD update regarding the last several meetings.
Yes, so Dan, do you just want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure, we held a series of 4 stakeholder meetings with city staff and regional stakeholders and partners. It was broken up into kind of 4 general subject areas that the POCD covers. And we got a lot of great feedback. We had a number of people show up for all 4 meetings. And we're working on putting it all together, and we'll be back to present some of the results from that to you and some early survey results. And we have the new Envision Norwich 360 community input page that we've been using as well.
So
It's been going
To
well.
put
We're
this-
meeting, I believe, next week with our consultant that's doing kind of the background data and the demographics. We've been working on the first phase of their data deck, and they sent us a rough draft that Deanna and I are going to discuss tomorrow.
So, they're working behind the scenes. We're working, getting public input. If you haven't, as a commission member, gone and done the survey yet, sign up for envisionnorwich360.com, go there. And as the survey for the POCD, we moved, it was just on SurveyMonkey before, and it still goes to that, but we went ahead and moved it over. And since we did that, what did we have, a 550% increase of users or something like that on the
Yeah.
survey, since we moved it to our own page now. So we're really trying to push. So again, it's yeah. So if you go to the city's website, right up in the top where we have the Facebook icon and the icon for, I think, Instagram or something, is right next to there is the 360. It says it's Envision Norwich 360, one word.com, or you can just go there and you'll see a little oval shape that looks like, Dan, can you copy the city's website real quick so you can show it where it's at? Okay, it's right up at the top of the page, and just click on that. And there's a very general, I think there's 4 or 5 questions to sign up, just so we know what your interest in the city is, if you live here, work here, that kind of thing. And there's several other things on that page that have like projects that you can look and comment on. So here is the city's website, and there it is. Just click right there on, yep, right there, and you click on it, goes right to Envision Norwich 360. And then the POCD is the first thing right there. Okay. Right there. On the conservation. So yeah, that's it for that. So we're moving along with it. We've got some time left. So I think we're doing good time wise. Dan, don't you agree?
Yes.
Yes.
We're on track.
On track.
Do you have staff report, Dan, or,
Oh God, we're just so busy.
yeah?
Our staff report, Dan, I don't know. We
I
just,
I don't have anything to report. It's 8:30.
yeah. Dan's getting married as our staff report. He's slacking. He's selling, wait a minute, and he's also selling his house right now and buying a house. There's a lot of drama going on.
There's a lot going on. So,
So that's our staff report. Dan's life is crazy, and I'm working on the structure.
So then when you buy a new house, are you still gonna be able to walk to work?
I'm not. Yeah,
Move into her territory.
yeah.
Norwich?
Nope.
No? Doesn't want to answer that.
He's moving to Niantic.
No.
That's where she's from. Can you hear us, Dan?
I can hear you. I can't hear.
Frank wanted to know if you were staying in Norwich, and I said no.
I'm not. Yeah.
He's cheating on us.
That will make.
That doesn't need to be in the minutes, Melinda.
What's going on with Hale Mill? Is it-
Hale Mill's doing really well as far as they had us do, I don't know, a few weeks ago, went out with their bankers, and they're just finalizing some stuff. Their building permit's been paid. They're ready to go. They're just finalizing some stuff on financially on their end. They're ready to go. They're really excited about the project. Yeah, we're working on grant applications a lot. The city's offering a person a position for the grant writer position. And that'll help us a lot because there's always brownfields grants, and CIF 2030 is a big one. That community investment funds that we're going to be going after that are really valuable for the city because they're only available to distressed communities in the States. There's only like 50 of us that qualify to get this lots of money. So we're doing lots of stuff like that.
So is there
Norwich
anything
360.
anything further that's going on with respect to George Mattern's interest in the YMCA now that we didn't get the.
Yeah,
brownfield
so what's
grant?
happening with that is we have applications into two separate councils of governments that I talked to EPA, and they have money in Naugatuck Valley and Hartford Capital Region Council of Governments. So we are outside of our own region asking for grant and loan money from other regions. So they have been really receptive to it. So we're in their grant rounds right now. Grant and loans and very like zero interest loans, and maybe even we can ask them to, EPA said ask for them to be forgivable loans, which is basically a grant. So no, Mattern still, but Mattern, that was a big get. We got a $2 million grant from the state community. What was that movie? I'm going blank right now. We got a grant for $2 million from the state, and we can use some of that. They can use that for the brownfields, but if they do that, that takes away from the development money. So we didn't get the EPA money that we had applied for. We were hoping to get. So EPA told me that, hey, these two councils of governments got money they got to spend, and so they hooked me up with them, and then the city has been working with them, and we have applications in. No matter, I'm still interested, but there's a gap. There's a gap, and we need those grants and loans to come through for them to help them. So, but no, it's that. So that's a little bit slower moving forward, but we just met today with them again. So the hotel has been, it's not opened yet. It's furnished. It was weird. They took political figures through there and it wasn't finished at the time, but they had furniture in there. So the floors were, it was weird. The floors are furnished, dirty and blah, blah, they had beds in there. You're like, why are you doing this? But anyways, it's weird that it's taking so long. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. I asked Kevin today if he'd heard from him. He said no. So he may need to put a little bit of a fire under him. So they were in today, 7791 Main Street. They are ready to pay their building permit fees for that. So nope, that one's moving forward. So the one that's the 10,000 square feet of commercial, and then I think it was 42 units upstairs. Yep. So that's happening. It's 7791. The Chinese, you had the Chinese food restaurant on one side, Ice and Fire, then the other side's on Water Street. So, yep. Happening, stuff's happening.
What about the car wash?
What is happening? Dan, do you know anything about that? That if he got a zoning permit or not?
For,
The guy on the corner of New London Turnpike and Salem Turnpike right there. Did he ever get his car wash permit? I don't think he did.
I don't know if that step happened yet.
No.
Because the other car wash was out of business.
And what's happening there, someone bought that property and bought the property across the street where the fire damage building is. And
the car wash.
so he's going to be building a car wash where the fire burn belt building is. And then the building across the street, which is up on the hill, he's converting that into two restaurant establishments. So what were their chains, Dan? Do you remember?
I believe it was a coffee shop and a grinder shop.
Yeah, but they were like chain things up there. So, yep. So he was not scared off at all by the Route 82 roundabouts. He was actually looking forward to that. So just, so even though everyone's making it sound like everyone's completely against it in the businesses, this guy came in and he was like, bring it on. That's great. I like the roundabout. So we'll see what happens. That's our staff report for today.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other matters to come before the commission? Hearing none, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thanks, everybody.
All
Yeah,
right, everybody.
Melinda, congratulations on your new job. Melinda got a new job with DECD.
Oh,
Thanks. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
does that mean she's not gonna be with us anymore?
No, as long as we can keep her, right, Melinda?
Well, thank you very much.
Are you
I'm sticking
staying on
around.
board with us for a little while?
I'm sticking around. This is too much fun.
And what,
Thank
and what are you doing with DECD? I forgot what your title is.
I am Assistant Director of Community Investment Fund, Deanna.
Yeah,
Terrific. Congratulations.
it's a big in. Thank you, lady. You guys have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.